We also have a new severe thunderstorm warning that has just come out for Western Ascension Parish, Iberville Parish, and Northwestern Assumption Parish. And this goes a little bit farther to the south. Plaquemine, of course, included within that. Potential there for 80-mile-per-hour winds. So folks in the tornado warning likely got an alert on their phones. Also, folks to the south in this new severe thunderstorm warning getting an alert to their phones as well. I'm going to step off camera for just a moment because I want to do a storm track on this to give you an idea as to the timing of the hazard. So we'll pull up the velocity display just because it's easier to pick out the area of rotation. And this is moving about to the northeast at 65 miles per hour. And we'll do a storm track over the next 30 minutes. So the following communities listed on your screen: Rama by 6:52, Rosedale by 6:56. So that's coming up in about the next 10 to 20 minutes or so. Bruley, you'll have to be on the lookout for this one by 7:06. Even Baton Rouge will have to keep an eye on this one. It may miss the city just to the north, but sometimes tornadoes can be finicky and they can take deviant motions. So Baton Rouge, I want your eye on this particular area of rotation. We also have what appears to be another tornado warning that's just been issued to the west of Iberville Parish, just to the south. There's another circulation. I'll put that circle on your screen. That tornado warning in effect for, I believe, St. Martin Parish. That one goes until 7 o'clock. Soon that'll cross over into the Atchafalaya Basin. That one moving east at 60 miles per hour as well. So Plaquemine, and Addis, perhaps we need to be on the lookout for that. And this is all part of a very large thunderstorm complex, which has been nasty. This storm system has had a history of producing tornadoes. Lake Charles, we saw evidence on radar earlier on of tornadic debris. We've also had some reports of very high wind gusts as well. So you can see several severe thunderstorm warnings in progress. Those are those orange boxes. And then you also see a couple of those red boxes indicating tornado warnings. So again, if you're just joining us right now, perhaps you got an alert on your phone. We've got a tornado warning that is in effect for portions of West Baton Rouge, Point Capine, and Iberville Parish. But I think at the present moment, the main threat is in Iberville Parish. And then that is eventually going to push a little bit closer to the capital city. Baton Rouge not under a tornado threat right now, but that could change a little bit later on in the night. Of course, we have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Baton Rouge, the potential there for 60-mile-per-hour winds in the next 30 minutes to an hour. But you go farther south to southern Iberville Parish and portions of Ascension Parish, we have the potential for 80-miles-per-hour winds. For a moment, I want to see if Josh has any updates over at our traffic pod.
Watching the broad area overall, Malcolm, we highlighted this on social media just a little while ago, but certainly keeping eyes on the whole Atchafalaya Basin and sections approaching the Baton Rouge area over the next few hours here. I've kind of been watching these storms evolve along this squall line that we were pointing out earlier has had a tendency to what's known as bow out, take on a comma shape. Actually, I'm going to turn off the lightning. You get a little better idea for that, and we'll continue to point out that bowed shape and the new tornado warning that has just now been issued to include central Iberville Parish. And looking at the warning polygon, the red box now, this would include the city of Plaquemine. So we're going to zoom in on that. Obviously, Plaquemine not being affected just yet, but that new tornado warning that's just been issued for those sections does include central Iberville Parish, and that one's live until at least 7:15. Malcolm giving me the info on that one. Let's give you what the National Weather Service product says. At 6:42 p.m., this storm capable of producing a tornado and extensive straight-line winds. I think that's going to be one of the big keys here. Extensive straight-line wind damage located 10 miles east of Butte La Rose, or 11 miles east of Catahoula, moving east at 55 miles per hour. And if you are in, say, Plaquemine around 6:55 or St. Gabriel around 7, now is the time to take shelter in a low-level interior room away from windows to protect yourself from any flying debris that may be caused by this storm, tornado or not. We're looking at the storm motion now. Again, we're at a point that's a little bit farther away from the radar, which is now in Hammond, closer to the Baton Rouge area than it formerly was. But we do have a sign that there may be some rotation in that. And what I want to do is go back to the radar view, and we'll actually track this for you since we know its speed is at about 55 miles per hour. Let's go right to the center of that piece of circulation that we're finding on radar, and we will move it to the east at about 55 miles per hour. And there you go. Plaquemine want to be sheltered up between 6:55 and 7. Grand River around 6:46, and this is then going to clip parts of southern East Baton Rouge Parish, and eventually Ascension Parish is going to be down the line from this as well. Here's a graphic we like to show you when we're in a severe weather threat, the reminder of where the safest place to be is during a tornado warning. The best place to be is a low-level interior room away from windows. If you do have a second story, try to avoid that. Certainly, if you can put as many walls between yourself and the outside as possible, that is the best way to go. Been monitoring our traffic cameras over the last little while here and trying to take a look at, well, there you go. This is a great shot, Malcolm. This is I-10 at Rama. So this is going to be in northwestern Iberville Parish. You can actually tell in this shot we have some wind-driven rain ongoing at the moment, and that camera may have just locked up. We actually were watching one in Breaux Bridge earlier that locked up when the gusty winds came overhead. These vehicles not in a great situation right now. We discourage driving across any interstate in a severe tornado-warned storm, let alone elevated roadway like the Basin. Okay, we got an updated camera shot right there, but you can see those sheets of wind in the Rama area, and that's why we want you to shelter up in that region right now, Malcolm.
That's right. And Josh, we now have a third tornado warning in progress. If we could pop up the weather graphics full here on the chroma key wall. And, well, there you see the new tornado warning issued for portions of northwest Baton Rouge Parish, southeastern Point Coupee Parish, and even portions of East Baton Rouge Parish. So there's a lot of red lines on the screen, but you see one box right there. That's a tornado warning, including Livonia. I believe the threat right now is very close to Livonia. Bush in the center of this tornado warning polygon as well. Southern University is closer to the edge of this polygon, and there you see Zachary just on the outer edge. So, folks, in Zachary, you're going to need to keep a very close eye on this. So there's U.S. Highway 190. There's Livonia. Looks like the circulation is right there. We're looking for the reds and the greens butting up right against each other. Radar's back this way. The greens are indicating winds going towards the radar, the reds going away from the radar, and that's where we're seeing rotation strong enough to where it does warrant that tornado warning, which is in effect until, I believe, 7:30. That's with the newest tornado warnings. That is just one of 3 warnings, though. We have 2 more off to the south. Josh, this one's moving east at 60 miles per hour. Could you put a storm track on there briefly?
Thinking just alike. That's what I was going to do for you right there. And, yeah, we drive that one forward. I think it switched over, to where you could, let's hit the graphic there so you can see mine. And, yeah, that does look like it goes forward to Irene around 7:04 p.m. So this is going to be approaching Highway 61 with the next 15 minutes or so, Malcolm.
That's correct. And that's just one of 3 tornado warnings. Let's go a little bit farther south. And we initially came on the air tracking the tornado warning right along I-10. And some good news here, the area of rotation, that's about where it is. It does appear to be broadening just a little bit, but with these storms, sometimes they can cycle. Sometimes the rotation can broaden. Sometimes it can contract. At any point, it could produce a tornado, and the concern here is this is right over the Basin Bridge along I-10. So if you have plans to take you west out towards Lafayette, or you have friends heading into town tonight, now is not the time to do this. Wait until these storms pass, because we are seeing circulations here capable of producing tornadoes. Here's the estimated time of arrival for some communities within this warning. Rama by 6:50. I want to point your attention to this timestamp. It is 6:48 right now. So if you're watching in Rama, your time is running out to take shelter. Take some hard-soled shoes with you if you can, and then get to shelter. We're talking lowest level of your home interior room without windows, and put as many walls between you and the outside of your home as possible. And just a note, manufactured housing, mobile homes, never safe. Here's a live look at I-10 at Rama.
That was just up a minute ago, so that shot's gone down now. We were just using that.
You know, we were looking at the Breaux Bridge shot a little bit earlier on, and when that line of storms passed through, all of a sudden the camera froze. I suspect we're seeing some power outages across the capital area as well. And then, is this a little bit farther south, Josh?
Yeah, we're going to that next one further down, which it looks like it's been extended into Iberville Parish. This is the one that we brought to you just a few minutes ago that includes Plaquemine. Now, look how fast this is moving, Malcolm. We were watching this on the western edge of the parish not 5 or 6 minutes ago when I last checked in, and we are now watching that approach Plaquemine in the St. Gabriel area. So once again, as we track this one forward, we're talking about a timeline of a matter of 5 to 10 minutes here, so we'd like you to be sheltered up in the Plaquemine area. And as you can tell, we extend that warning cone out into southern East Baton Rouge Parish. That would include Gardier as well by 7:05. So a really good idea to shelter up in the southern part of East Baton Rouge Parish. Let's say south of I-10 right now would be a good idea, and we'll keep you posted for those areas a little bit farther to the north. I'm going to turn it back over to our velocity image to check the rotation signature right now. Honestly, not that impressive at the moment. What is impressive is the really bright shades of green. So regardless of a circulation, rotation, a tornado, we likely have some very strong wind gusts in this storm cell. Now, note that we are seeing our radar beam point a little bit above ground into the base of that thunderstorm cloud. So it's a possibility that we're detecting some winds just above the surface, but often in these severe storms, that can be mixed down to the ground. And with the forward wind speed of the storm already really rapid at about 55 to 60 miles per hour, we could be talking about easily achieving severe level wind gusts over 60 and potentially some damaging wind gusts higher than that. So remain in your shelter if you're in the area of Iberville Parish. And I'd say the most particularly concerned right now with those areas along I-10 at the moment. What we're going to take now full, I'm told, is some wind and lightning on the camera of I-10 at Whiskey Bay. So if you guys are going to pop that up in the back, yeah, that would give us a really good vantage point of that dangerous drive across I-10 right now. Malcolm, maybe you can check out NWS chat and see if they've posted anything new in there and chime in if you do see anything. Once again, dangerous night across the I-10 corridor right now. I believe we have another shot we're going to show you. Yeah, this is Bro Bridge. That camera we were watching earlier went offline when this severe storm rolled over. Had a tornado warning at the time, but you can tell conditions better there than they were just a few minutes ago. Camera kind of wobbling in a strong wind at the moment still. And now we'll step out and take a look at that broader picture on radar that we're seeing at the moment. Boy, what an active evening. We talked about it in our 5 o'clock newscast and our 6 o'clock newscast that the time to get into a safe mode was now because we had a busy 1 to 2 hours ahead. Now that this is moving into the capital area, still about 90 minutes or so that you're going to need to stick with us and stay in your safe shelter with multiple tornado warnings in and around the city of Baton Rouge. We talked about north and west, south and west, due west, right along I-10 either side, almost equal distance on either side. We're seeing those tornado warned storms. I'll turn the lightning layer off so you can see a little bit more carefully and zoom on in. And what we concern ourselves with when we're talking about tornado warned storms along a line is actually these little notches that we're finding, and I'm going to point them out for you. That's where you can see brief spin-ups. There's one right there in that tornado-warned area. See where that pointer of the arrow is on the end of the radar loop? There's another one to the south near Plaquemine with this tornado-warned area, and a couple of smaller notches closer to Rosedale. All of these where we can see some brief periods of rotation and maybe a quick spinning up tornado. Not surprising to see the National Weather Service issue these tornado warnings as a result. Malcolm, any update from the Weather Service?
No reports of anything from the National Weather Service, but what is incredibly interesting is I just took a look at some of the magnitudes of these velocities, and we are dealing with velocities on the order of 100 miles per hour, a couple thousand feet above the ground level. Because, no, we are not scanning right at ground level here, but a couple thousand feet above the ground. And some of these are borderline 100, 105 miles per hour, and some of these may be mixing to the ground. So even if there's not a tornado, and don't get me wrong, there is definitely the potential for a tornado with these areas of rotation, but surrounding them, we also have a big burst of wind. You see these bright shades of green indicating really high wind velocity. So, of course, we have that severe thunderstorm warning in effect for portions of Iberville and Western Ascension Parish. It's down here towards Plaquemine, Geismar, going close to Gonzales. I don't believe Gonzales is in the warning yet, but you likely will be in a warning at some point. But this surge of wind, it could be capable of 80-mile-per-hour winds. That is why you likely received an alert on your phones. Here's the estimated time of arrival for a few of these locations in this particular warning. And this is at circulation in Iberville Parish right now. Right now it's over swamp, not in populated areas, but soon it could be knocking on Plaquemine's doorstep by 7:02, pretty close to the WBRZ tower by 7:05. Looks like this cone fans out pretty wide. So if this takes a northward jog, maybe we'll have to watch this closer to locations here at WBRZ, but right now I believe the current trajectory takes us off towards the south. A little bit farther north, we find a circulation right along I-10 in northern Iberville Parish, about to move into West Baton Rouge Parish. The timeline of that, 6:55. Gross Tate, and I believe right now is about 6:55. So time is out to take shelter in Gross Tate. Addis by 7:05. That's about 10 minutes from now. And I mentioned the time because some of you may be watching us on streaming platforms, and sometimes there can be a 1 to 2 minute delay on those. So keep your eye on this timestamp because when we show these estimated times of arrival, they are relative to this time. LSU by 7:09, Baton Rouge. This circulation is going to arrive pretty close to the capital city within the next 30 minutes, and then even farther north. This one honestly looks the strongest. That tornado warning in effect until 7:30. You see those reds and greens button up right against each other. That's going to be on the doorstep of Southern University by 7:09, Irene by 7:07, even Zachary, perhaps Baker, needs to watch us closer to 7:10. Josh, can we zoom in on that circulation and see some of the roads?
Yeah, let's do that. That, like you said, that is the most impressive one so far. This is just north of Highway 190. So then we're into Livonia, and we're talking about Highway 78, 978, and 413. What Malcolm was referencing was these areas right where you're seeing the green butting up against the red, and especially on the leading edge of the green. This would be where we'd be concerned with the circulation, at least in the lowest levels of the atmosphere, potentially producing a tornado. And we're starting to get awfully close to some of those areas that were impacted by tornadoes back in early April. So not again is what we're saying in some of those locations. Remember, those previous events spun up just on the south end of New Roads, ended up crossing into the St. Francisville area. This is very, very close to that. And if you are once again living along even LA1, right now, just west of the Mississippi River, and you're in southern Point Capee Parish or northern Iberville Parish, just north of Highway 190 and I-10. Pretty dangerous circulation moving through that area. Maybe some strong damaging wind gusts in addition to the possibility of a tornado with that one. Take a moment before we go back and refresh the radar full here to remind you about your safe place. We talked about that dangerous storm right now. This is the safety message. This is where you need to be, and that's a low-level interior room away from windows. Remember your pets, too, when you're heading to safety. Obviously, the whole family's going with you. Pets are a part of the family as well. Good idea to leash them up in case something happens and you get separated from them, or you don't get separated them as long as they're leashed up and with you. Broad picture, once again, storms racing. Go ahead, Malcolm.
We just got an update from the National Weather Service as of about 1 minute ago. They are going to upgrade the severe thunderstorm warning to Baton Rouge to have what they call a destructive tag, having the potential for 80-mile-per-hour winds. I believe that's what they're upgrading it for because this has a very powerful wind surge. So that means very shortly, folks in Baton Rouge may get an alert to their phones.
Yeah, you know that tone. It's a little bit alarming, but we're letting you know ahead of time that you may be hearing that all across the capital city tonight, that emergency tone that will come on your mobile device. And this is not issued for every severe thunderstorm warning. This is issued, as Malcolm said, for particularly dangerous severe thunderstorms and the possibility of not just 60-mile-per-hour winds, but upwards of that, maybe 70 or 80-mile-per-hour winds that can cause some really destructive damage across the area. And this is going to be moving into a highly, highly populated section of our viewing area. We're talking East Baton Rouge Parish right now. So, Sylvia, you saying you just heard that go off on your phone?
Just my phone just buzzed.
There it goes. So that is that wireless emergency alert that folks around the capital area are probably receiving right now, and Sylvia just did. So if you live in southern East Baton Rouge Parish, this is now extended all the way to the Amite River, would include sections like Shenandoah, Old Jefferson, just to the west of Central, but Baker would be included. The LSU area, the Gardere area is going to be included in this. The Garden District would be included in this. So let's push in a little bit tighter. Let's say you're in these areas along Airline Highway right now and you're just noticing a little bit of lighter rain, maybe a bit of wind, hearing some rumbles of thunder. This would be a really good time to shelter up and get to that safe place because we could have some significant winds moving across the Mississippi River and toward our area right now. And we'll let you know. We will be experiencing them here at the station likely on the southwestern side of Baton Rouge in just a matter of moments. So reminders of your safe place. This applies to not only tornadoes but also severe thunderstorms. You want to place as many walls between yourself and the outside as possible and really avoid windows. Don't go checking outside to see what the storm looks like, blowing glass. Obviously, I don't need to explain the danger that could create. So we're back to radar now, and there's that tornado warning. Has been extended into northern parts of East Baton Rouge Parish. That's going to be brand new. I'm sure Malcolm will chime in with the details on that in just a moment. It's at least an extension of the former tornado warning. So this goes until 7:30 for northern parts of East Baton Rouge Parish. And I'm going to go ahead and see if we can check out the rotation there. And this is that strong circulation Malcolm pointed out just a moment ago, south of New Roads and in southern Point Capee, northern West Baton Rouge. It'll be moving through there in a moment and then crossing the Mississippi River into northwestern East Baton Rouge. Malcolm getting back with us on camera. And take a look at that, Malcolm. Just extended into northern EBR.
Here's what's interesting. Do you notice how this is kind of taking a northward jog a little bit? Sometimes these storms can have a little bit of a deviant motion to it. I'm curious if we were to take the radar loop back just a couple of scans to see how this is exactly tracking. But regardless, that tornado warning's in effect till 7:30 for portions of East Baton Rouge, West Baton Rouge, and I believe, here's the storm track on that. Goodness gracious.
Look at that. They just updated that. Took away the tornado, it looks like.
Well, there's still very strong winds with this. A severe thunderstorm warning does remain in effect. Of course, we just got that alert with our phones, potential up to 80-mile-per-hour winds. Still a broad area of rotation with this, but it looks like if they're canceling the tornado warning, evidently it must be broad enough to where we can get rid of that red box.
And
in fact, I think we got a couple tornado warning expirations.
I don't see any now. All the red boxes off. It's not a glitch in our system. It probably replaced with that destructive tag.
That's right.
Malcolm, look, we can see several along this line, several bulges, those bows we talk about, and all of these. We could have extremely damaging wind gusts moving toward Plaquemine and White Castle at the moment. Another one just by Addison, Bruley. You see where I'm pointing out these curves in the line of storms, folks? This is where we would see those significant wind gusts. And along Highway 90 there in northern parts of West Baton Rouge Parish now. And Malcolm kind of noticed it on the air, and I would agree with it. That is a really broad area of rotation at the moment, usually with a tornado signature, which is going to be much, much tighter over a smaller scale. I would say not to rule anything out right now, given the strength of some of these storms, but you've received that wireless emergency alert, and that means we would want you to be sheltered up in any of these locations within this orange boxed area. There is once again our severe thunderstorm warning for parts of East Baton Rouge, Point Capee, West Baton Rouge, and we'll move further south and you'll see the location identifiers change. Southern Iberville Parish is included in this as well. Parts of Southern Ascension, all until 7:30. So you can now tell that if you're in western parts of Gonzales, you're in a severe thunderstorm warning. If you're in White Castle, Donaldsonville, Pankertville, or Pierre Park, you're also in a severe thunderstorm warning. And all of that extends until 7:30 this evening. Because of that wireless emergency alert, that destructive tag on the severe thunderstorm, we are going to remain on the air with you to get you through these storms over the next few hours or so. It's an hour or so, not multiple hours. Hopefully this is fast moving. But this is a dangerous situation, a little more so than a severe thunderstorm warning that does not trigger that alert on your phone. We go back for just a moment and see what we're finding outside as Malcolm is regrouping. We look to Breaux Bridge, west of the storms now, much quieter there. Let's go to that Rama camera once again. I'm going to see if that has been restored or the picture is still out. And that camera is still on. I'm going to leave that off for the moment. And US 190 north of Lobdell. Do we have that in the back, folks? If you want to pull that up full screen, we'd be happy to take a look at that as I reset the radar here for just a moment.
Our tower cam also isn't very impressive as well, mainly because it is raining so hard in Baton Rouge. There is reduced visibility.
Yeah, and boy, look at all that lightning. Get ready for a really noisy go of things over the next 30 minutes here. There's another good shot. You can see that US 190 shot. And Malcolm, I don't know if you can see that in the back in the weather office, but this is just north of Lobdell. That is a dark storm base there, several flashes of lightning. Still, unfortunately, seeing vehicles on the road. A lot of that looks to be truck traffic, 18-wheeler traffic, and rain is starting to pick up in those sections as well. Folks in the back, keep an eye on that shot. If that starts to intensify and we may suddenly see a wall of water sweep over that, I'd like to keep eyes on that one as this storm is rolling right down the interstate into western West Baton Rouge Parish. And that's our tower camera right now. That's really impressive because it's 7. We still have 40 minutes of daylight left. And, boy, that looks like night has fallen across the Capitol. It's been years since I've seen a tower camera shot look like that in the day. Harkens back to our derecho event multiple years ago that we had a daytime shot turn that dark. So really impressive, really hard that we can't see the bridge very well at the moment right now. And that's because these storms are continuing to move in our area. We're going to keep this live shot up for a moment as we're in that severe thunderstorm warning. This tower camera is very much within that warning right now, and we can see conditions deteriorating there very quickly at the moment, Malcolm. Maybe you could point out on camera here some of the darkness, the lowering. We're seeing those clouds, and we're likely going to see a sheet of rain rolling down the interstate here momentarily.
And you know what's interesting is we were just taking a look at our tower cam, and well, the visibilities are very low on that. And looking at the reflectivities on radar, we're just dealing with moderate rainfall in Baton Rouge. It's only going to pick up in intensity over the next, oh goodness, I'd say 10 to 15 minutes. And once that rain arrives, we're going to get a strong gust of wind as well. So where is this? US 190 at LA 415. Yeah, we're seeing those lowerings of the it's kind of, or at Lobdell?
Yeah,
Lobdell, okay.
415 at Lobdell, yep.
Right. Yeah, clearly some powerful flashes of light there. You can see the reduced visibilities off in the distance. That's that heavy rain that's beginning to approach. You can see the raindrops beginning to form on the camera lens. This is a loud thunderstorm, and we've been hearing some of the cracks of thunder here at WBRZ. I would imagine those would only get more frequent over the next several minutes here.
Yeah, we've had at the station here, obviously a sturdy structure, but we will likely notice the winds intensifying outside of our studios momentarily. Malcolm, we have a window by our weather office that we're going to try to heed our own advice, our message, and we're going to keep away from it, just like you should be if you're watching at home right now as this storm. I mean, it is cutting right across. I mean, if you try to cut this storm in half, you couldn't do a better job than I-10 and the I-12 corridor are right now. So this is the heaviest, most heavily populated part of the Channel 2 viewing area, experiencing some of this active weather at the moment. Look at all of the lightning. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can give you a count on how much lightning is in this boxed area right now. I'm going to draw all that, and yeah, number of strikes, 134. I actually need to switch my radar product to show you a better example of that. So let's go with our live radar, and we will turn on our lightning layer. And now let's take a look at the amount of lightning in that New Roads to Baton Rouge corridor right now. And our strikes, 3,300 in that area at the moment. And it's just another reason to shelter up safely this evening. You don't want to be outside in a lightning storm, obviously, but the damaging wind gust potential is there. But something else just to keep in mind with lightning strikes, they're hazardous to trees, too. We could talk about any high objects out there this evening potentially being struck. At the moment, we are going to go back to that DOTD camera now to once again give you an outside perspective on this severe thunderstorm. And yeah, there are those sheets of rain I was talking about a moment ago. This is 190 at LA 415. Fortunately, no cars passing by at the moment. Hopefully it stays that way in the near term. If you know somebody that's out in a vehicle right now kind of trapped in that, didn't have an option to get home, and you can reach them on their mobile device, they likely received the wireless emergency alert. But pull over, shoulder, flashers on, and just kind of stay in place while this passes over. And if you got a nearby strong shelter to get to that you can safely, that's an even better bet. But happy to see that road empty, Malcolm. And as we see the rain picking up there, we're hearing it on our rooftop as well.
Oh, yeah, the heavy rain is right on Baton Rouge's doorstep, and we're going to keep this shot. It's almost like as the rain is arriving at this shot, it's arriving here locally at our station as well. You can see very heavy rain over Bush, or at least we're looking at the radar back here, and we can see some bright reds over Bush and Addis. But Baton Rouge, rain rates are starting to pick up, and the winds are starting to arrive. And, of course, not just the interstates, but in general, if you don't have to be out right now driving, you certainly don't want to do that, because these winds are certainly substantial enough to topple over things like trees, power lines, etc. And the last thing you want while you're driving is a tree to come down on you. In fact, we had a pretty impressive shot over our tower. Josh, are you pulling up the tower cam?
I was looking at it. Yeah, there's not much to see anymore. We can barely make out the light of downtown and the bridge at the moment. Let me get those current conditions off the board. But, yeah, that is a tough go out in the capital city tonight. And expect this to spread across I-12 now that we're coming down I-10 in the next 5 minutes or so, given the time with which it's arrived here in the Baton Rouge area.
Look at the guy wire, too. Guy wire is just swaying. Those are heavy-duty cables that will help hold our tower up, which we're thankful for right now as these winds come through. But, yeah, those are swaying around in the wind, doing their job. But, when we had our straight line winds come through a couple of weeks ago on April the 10th, the guy wire was swaying just like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if we had several damage reports coming around the capital area and portions south, because widespread zone of 80-mile-per-hour winds are likely. The good news is no tornado warnings right now. And looking at that velocity image on the screen, doesn't appear that we have too many concerning circulations now. We'll still need to watch it, though.
Right, and what I did was I still put a track on that brightest shaded green area. That is where we're most likely to see strong damaging wind gusts mixing down to the surface. So here we are in southern East Baton Rouge Parish now. We're talking about Oak Hills in about a minute or two. St. George at about 7:12. Klein Peter around 7:14. Old Jefferson around 7:15, and then Prairieville shortly after that. So let's tighten up there, and we're going to look at some of those more stronger wind gusts and get you a road or a street level view. You're likely noticing on Highland Road, Kenilworth Parkway, Starring Lane, we're going to see the winds picking up extremely rapidly here. Next 1 to 2 minutes. Burbank Drive, you're going to see that. And then as we move closer to Picardy and I-10, the winds are going to pick up about 2 to 4 minutes from now. Inniswald about 5 to 10 minutes from now. And then over in that Coursey, Sherwood, Jones Creek area, you've got about, say, 6 to 10 minutes before we really start to notice those winds picking up. And the gustiest part of this storm racing off to the east at last check at about 55 to 60 miles per hour. So once again, I'll put a little track on that for you. Make sure I have my speed right. Yeah, 60 miles per hour. Let's start from the city of Baton Rouge. Follow that comma shape once again until it indents back toward Gardere, and we'll just drag it out 15 miles because we are right in the heart of the Channel 2 viewing area right now, our coverage area. St. George, 7:12. Old Jefferson, 7:15. Prairieville, 7:17. And then Galvez around 7:22. And we'll see this severe thunderstorm warning potentially extended east of that. So good idea to make sure you're sheltered up in all of those areas within the orange polygon and be on alert in parts of northern and eastern Ascension as well as western Livingston Parish at this time as well. Just a reminder where we tell you to shelter up. Want to let you know where that can be. The goal is to be away from windows and put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Heavy thunderstorms racing across the area right now. Going to move outside once again to another DOTD camera shot. That is I-10 westbound at LA 14. Is that what you guys said? Yeah. 415. There we go. Right near Port Allen. Go ahead, Malcolm, while we're taking a look at this outside shot.
Yeah, just a quick update. We are seeing a spike in the radar reflectivities a little bit south, just to the northeast of Plaquemine. So Gardere, you are likely about to hear or see some very large hail in the radar. In fact, on our weather graphics, I'm popping up the estimated size. We're talking the potential for up to golf ball size hail right along the edge of West Baton Rouge and northern Iberville Parish, and assume this is going to move into the southern fringes of East Baton Rouge Parish. So the potential is there for up to golf ball size hail. And not only that, but we also have 80-mile-per-hour winds. So this would be a wind-driven hail concern. So the damage potential here is particularly high. Please stay inside and to stay away from windows here because the wind will drive this hail. And very often in these scenarios, you see things like broken windows, broken skylights, even broken car windows. So pretty dangerous situation here, right? About to move into the southern edge of East Baton Rouge Parish. Pretty much the intersection of East Baton Rouge, West Baton Rouge, and Iberville Parish. And that is all part of a much larger complex of thunderstorms where up to 80-mile-per-hour winds are possible. But that is a pretty concerning signature on radar. Our producer in the back just said something to me. Did you have a camera shot?
Yeah, I pulled it up on graphics, too. We're looking at the 10-12 split right now, and it is nasty out there. Look at that. Barely able to see the interstate at the moment there. Cars traveling in each direction still, unfortunately. Don't like to see that. Pretty heavy traffic and a really nasty thunderstorm at the moment. And there it is from the other direction. And we're actually getting a little sound at the moment. I don't know if it was here and there, but it did sound like a thunderstorm. Look at that. Cars moving down the interstate, flashers on, hitting their brake lights as they approach the merge. It is 7:12. If there was not a thunderstorm overhead, we'd still see plenty of daylight and have no problem making out this camera. But this is an intense, heavy thunderstorm at the moment rolling across that area. And we are in switch cameras once again. This is I-10 at Terrace, looking a little bit better there in terms of rain intensity, but we're still seeing several flashes of lightning and extremely dark skies in that area at the moment. Malcolm, back on set here in studio, probably have some new information.
Yeah, I'm going to switch over to our other graphic system. A new tornado warning has just come in for portions of Ascension, East Baton Rouge, and Livingston Parish. We were just talking about the hail core to the northeast of Plaquemine. That's about where the hail core is, along the edge of Iberville, West Baton Rouge, and East Baton Rouge Parish. But just to the southeast of that hail core, as is often the case with these types of thunderstorms, you've got an area of rotation. That's about where it is, to the north of St. Gabriel, south of Gardere. This is moving to the east at 55 miles per hour. So another fast-moving circulation. Prairieville, you are dead center within the middle of this tornado warning. Old Jefferson, I-10 is right here. So we've been saying don't travel along I-10. That's a bad idea here as the storm continues to barrel into Ascension Parish. Josh, could you take control of Weather 4 for just a moment and pop up the velocity display?
Yeah, we'll take over that right now. I was just told that they got that wireless emergency alert in the control room as well. So there we go, Malcolm. If you want to highlight that, I'll go ahead and get a track going on that for you as well.
That's actually where the rotation is. So having a hard time seeing what parish that is. We're a little tight here. Is that East Baton Rouge Parish?
Southern East Baton Rouge, Northern Ascension, and Western Livingston. Yeah.
So right now the system looks like it may miss Prairieville just to the northeast, but southeastern sides of the capital city between Prairieville and downtown Baton Rouge, there's Airline Highway. The circulation's actually about to move over Airline Highway, I'd say within the next 1 to 2 minutes. So everybody needs to be in their tornado shelters. So there's Airline Highway. LA 42, the interstate's right there. In fact, the circulation looks like it's just about right on top of the interstate. If you live near some of these roads, you need to take shelter immediately. You are running out of time here because this will be on top of you within the next 1 to 2 minutes. And it is 7:14 as of this broadcast, as I'm speaking now. Talking Southern Hills Avenue, Santa Maria Parkway, Clover Hill Boulevard. Is that Long Farm Road? And Woodlawn Acres Avenue. Going a little bit farther northeast, you can see, is that Hagerstown?
Yeah, and then we Tiger Bend area, Behringer Foreman Road. You're going to want to shelter up. And there's, of course, the Amite River and the border with Livingston Parish. Producers, directors, if you have a chance, and you can let us know, there are several DOTD cameras along Airline Highway. Might want to check those out right now. Highland and I-10 would be great because that's right near Santa Maria Parkway, and that would where we have that tornado warning right now. Once again, yeah, I can't believe the lighting out there right now. So dark with this intense storm line moving across the area. Let's keep an eye on that for a minute because, as Malcolm pointed out, once again, that's very close to Santa Maria Parkway, which is right in the middle of that tornado-warned area and right in the middle of where we see that circulation. I zoom out to point that. There you go. Watch the highlight. I point out Santa Maria Parkway right in the middle of the screen right there. There's I-10. This is where our DOTD camera is. I'm circling that. And then I will zoom out a little bit wider. And you can see broadly that circulation we're keeping an eye on. So let's remove that storm track. And we are watching that area close to I-10 where that camera was punched up just now. This is where we could potentially see some low-level rotation. No signs on that DOTD camera of a tornado, but in a situation like this, those little notches along a broader line, they tend to be brief spin-ups. Spin-ups, no less, can create a lot of damage in a short time, and that camera, I'm told, just went down.
We just got a report in the National Weather Service chat room of up to 60 miles per hour at, I believe that says Tiger Stadium. Yes.
Yeah, the weather stem there. That makes sense. That's elevated. Now, that's at the top of Tiger Stadium, so that's a little bit off the ground. That's going to be above the surface.
And let's also note, even if you don't see a tornado from this, there's a circulation there. There's a tornado warning. You need to take shelter from it. You're still going to see very high winds capable of producing tornado-like damage. So there's a tornado threat. There's a damaging straight-line wind threat. There's also a wind-driven hail threat because there's actually a hail core that follows behind this area of rotation. Radar estimating those blues there, up to 1-inch diameter hail, maybe slightly longer, perhaps up to ping pong ball size hail or $50 size hail. And those 80-mile-per-hour winds are going to slam that hail into the side of houses. When I worked in Nebraska, I would see this all the time, and it produces some nasty, nasty damage. So folks in Gardere definitely need to be inside right now as there is hail accompanying the wind, and folks to the east near Prairieville, far southeastern reaches of East Baton Rouge Parish, that is also going to be a hazard in addition to the tornado and wind, damaging straight-line wind threat.
I'll step out just a little wider for a moment, Malcolm. We've been focused on that new tornado warning, but I did want to get a situation overview. Don't want to forget about everybody else in the viewing area that's keeping tabs on this right now. Yeah, the tornado warning always going to be the headliner in terms of severe weather, and we do have that in southeastern East Baton Rouge, southwestern Livingston, and extreme northern Ascension. Broad severe thunderstorm warning that includes now St. Helena Parish, southern East Feliciana, southern West Feliciana, eastern Point Capee, West Baton Rouge Parish, eastern Iberville, Plaquemine, St. Gabriel, and then down to northern Assumption. So this is the most intense part of the line right now. It's a fast mover. 50 to 60 mile per hour straight line motion. And then within that, we may have some much higher wind gusts, and certainly so if there's a tornado. So no other tornado warnings in the moment right now. We can see the line kind of breaking apart a little closer to northern parts of St. Mary Parish right now. We'll watch the secondary line developing over Vermilion Bay and just offshore for St. Mary Parish and along Highway 90 later into the evening. But we are focused in on the capital city right now and that tornado warning for East Baton Rouge Parish, Livingston, and Northern Ascension Parish. This is our looping radar view, and you can just see how quickly this is coming into focus here. Another perspective on that potential hail core in this storm is those shades of dark red, and especially when you see pinks, purples, or even whites on the looping radar product here, that tells us that we may have some good-sized hailstones in the mix as well. And Malcolm summed this up, but I think it's worth repeating. You're getting kind of a 1-2 punch here because the winds are rushing out at the leading edge of this storm. You may get into the heavy rain and think the most of the threat is over, but those heavy winds could continue, and you will then get the hail following that because it's within the core of that thunderstorm. So right now between, say, Prairieville and Old Jefferson on Airline Highway and I-10, we are getting some really, really gnarly weather. And I did just get a message from the producer in the back, Jonathan. I'll pause so you could repeat that to me. Did you have another vantage point outside?
Airline
you know
and
what?
Siegen.
Yeah, I'll pass that. That's crazy. Every time we get this, that was Airline and Siegen. They were going to show us the shot there, and that one went down as well. It looks like we're rolling there. That is 61 at Siegen. So, yeah, that shot is still rolling. Actually, you can see some water pooling on the surface there. We're obviously not surprised to see something like that in these situations. Our roads are going to hold water when you're getting downpours over a quick period of time. Flooding, kind of a secondary threat with what we're seeing this evening with a severe weather threat, but there is potential as we move into the evening hours that we could see some standing water, and I'll draw your attention to that. Look back off to the west, trailing all of these severe thunderstorm warnings, guys. If you take radar before we go to that next camera, all of those green boxes, those are flood warnings. So we are seeing standing water. Even if it's still not raining heavily, you're getting the downpours, and then you're getting rain continued on top of that, and our drainage is not catching up with the runoff. So we have flooding problems right now in Opelousas, in Lafayette, northern parts of Abbeville, over into Lake Charles, south of Fort Johnson into western Louisiana. Might see a few of those warnings issued here. Regardless of the severe weather, now you got the rain threat. Good night to stay inside, away from this nasty weather. I think it's best if we go ahead and zoom in now and update that tornado warning. Malcolm, you are at our green screen. Maybe you want to track this one. We'll start with radar and then go to the velocity in just a moment and put a track on it.
Yeah, and I have gone back into the Weather Center a little bit to take a look at the area of rotation just a little bit closer, and it does appear to be weakening to an extent. And frankly, nothing looks all that strong in terms of rotation. And Josh, I don't know if you see anything in particular there. There's this bulging out in the velocities, and you can always see a spin up in this region, but it does appear to be a little bit weaker from last scans, and that is what we like to see. Still very strong winds within this. In fact, I have the National Weather Service bulletin for the severe thunderstorm warning here, and they note in here, this is an extremely dangerous situation with tornado-like wind speeds expected. So in addition to the actual tornado threat, there's a damaging straight-line wind threat, which can produce wind speeds just like a tornado. So we advise that you shelter in that interior room, putting as many walls between you and the outside of your home. And then in addition to that, there you see some of these blues. This is our hail product, indicating hail potentially up to quarter size, maybe up to, in the National Weather Service bulletin, ping pong ball size hail, and those winds driving the hail into objects. So you have the tornado threat, and you have the damaging straight-line wind threat Josh mentioned a few moments ago. It's almost like a 1-2 punch. In this case, a 1-2-3 punch. You got this tornado warning encapsulated within a much broader and larger severe thunderstorm warning, which could produce more widespread wind damage. Another thing of note within this warning product from the National Weather Service is they're saying these are destructive storms having the potential for hurricane-force winds, which is 74 miles per hour or above. And I think we actually had a report on the scanner, rather, saying the potential. Where was that 80-mile-per-hour report? Was that up by was that Brobridge?
Gross Tet.
Yep. So that's the potential with these storms as we go into the nighttime hours. And, Josh, I think it would be interesting if we took the broad perspective again, because these storms are eventually going to move into Livingston Parish, St. Helena Parish, areas a little bit farther east. There's a severe thunderstorm watch that goes way east, pretty much through the rest of southeast Louisiana. So, folks, in Greensburg, Hammond, you're seeing some rain right now. But eventually, this is going to be knocking on your doorstep, probably within the next hour. I mean, look how fast this is moving. Do you see this arcing segment right there? That's what we call a bow echo. It literally looks like an archer's bow. That's where the wind is surging forward. In fact, farther to the south, I think near the coast, I see another bowing segment. So we may need to watch St. Mary Parish before too long as well. In fact, the air is much muggier, much more unstable closer to the coast. Yeah. You see that, Josh?
Mm-hmm. Right over Vermilion Bay.
Yeah.
It'll be approaching Morgan City here. The speed these are moving about 15 to 20 minutes. Gosh, if you're anywhere in the Channel 2 coverage area right now, I'd say shelter up. Time to get in a safe place.
Yeah, and I think the reason we're not seeing any warnings in the Morgan City area right now is because all the storms are offshore. We're having marine warnings, which are not popping up on your screen, but my goodness.
Yeah, really active night. We'll go back to that radar perspective, scanning away, and you see that bright red polygon right in the middle of all of the chaos this evening in southeastern East Baton Rouge and western Livingston, northern Ascension. Like Malcolm said, circulation or not, boy, what's the difference if your damage is caused by a brief weekend tornado, 80 mile per hour, or straight line winds of 80 miles per hour? Either one is going to cause the same level of destruction. An 80 mile per hour wind is an 80 mile per hour wind. So anywhere within this orange boxed area or red boxed area, make sure you're sheltered up tonight. In southwest Mississippi, heavy rain is ongoing. No active warnings at the moment. And along the coast, it looks like some pretty substantial thunderstorms are heading in that direction as well. Malcolm is passing me an update on a new severe thunderstorm warning. That'll be live until 8:30. This is going to include St. John the Baptist, Southern Ascension, St. James, St. Charles, Southeastern Iberville, Northwestern Lafourche, and Assumption. And there it is, sure enough, on the screen. Our warning printout coming just as quickly as the new polygon appears on our radar view here. I'm circling it with the arrow if you're watching on screen right now. So there's Napoleonville in the center of that. All of St. James Parish is going to be included before this moves toward the lakes, more upon Pontchartrain. Intensity on those storms, certainly there in the gusty wind potential, but a really good gauge for storm intensity can often be the amount of lightning we're seeing. And what takes the cake right now is that larger boxed area right in the 10-12 corridor. I want to pause for 1 second. I'm going to throw a graphic up on the screen. You are our ears and eyes in the field, and once the storms have passed you, if you can safely report anything that's happened or want to show us some damage, you can scan that QR code on the screen and send us your photos or email weather@wbrz.com. You could also email news@wbrz.com. Malcolm and I have primary access to that weather one. Our news folks could certainly help out in relaying some of those photos on the air if they start to come in. Any damage that you can get to, and I reiterate, if you can safely report damage to us or send a picture, please do that. But I don't want you to risk going out in the storm to capture one of those photos. Now, let's go back to the radar view, and we're going to take a look at a traffic camera as you see that broad perspective. This is going to be Airline at Sherwood Forest. That's a little better than what we were seeing, Sherwood Commons, Airline at Sherwood Commons. A little better than what we were seeing a little while ago. Look, I said this about 15, 20 minutes ago. It was not yet night, but it looked like it was. That's actually brighter looking. So you can tell that leading edge of this storm line is where we were seeing those really low, dark clouds blocking out any kind of daylight we were getting. And now we're going to go to our tower camera. And that's still fairly dark, but we can see more of the bridge than we could just a little while ago. You can see the lights on the bridge at this moment. And that is good news in downtown Baton Rouge. But this storm certainly gusting out to the east. And as we're taking a look at that shot, I'll pass along to you that we've seen, and you can take radar back whenever you'd like. We've seen the severe thunderstorm warning canceled for northern parts of Livingston Parish, northern parts of East Baton Rouge Parish, East Feliciana and St. Helena Parish. Still a dangerous storm. Look at all of that lightning, but the severe wind gust threat may be a little bit lower, and we are seeing pieces of that tornado warning continue to be whittled back here minute by minute. Let's go back to our velocity and take a look at that once again. Malcolm, go ahead.
Yeah, we got a couple of updates. Well, you were first about to get into that tornado warning, but now just in effect for Livingston Parish. Regarding that tornado warning, in the National Weather Service chat room, they noted that they were seeing the broadening out and the weakening of that rotation. That is what we brought to you here at the storm station just a few moments ago. They noted that about 7 minutes ago. In addition to all of this, We got a message from our digital team out in the newsroom. As of 7:15, there are 47,000 energy outages across the state, and only 500 of those are in East Baton Rouge Parish and 2,000 of those in Iberville Parish. In fact, our power outage graphic, there it is on your screen. Impressive. Of over 50% of Point Capee Parish is without power at the present moment.
Not again, right? Not
yeah,
again.
Seriously. Goodness gracious. I took a drive up there just the other night trying to see the aurora lights, and there are so many trees out there, and the winds just come through and they easily topple those trees and down power lines. And East Baton Rouge Parish, for now, about 1% of the parish without power. That number has risen from 500 per that email I just got to 1,500, and I think that number is likely to rise. So there is an update there, and I believe we just got a storm report in from the National Weather Service. 1-inch diameter hail 1 mile northwest of Westminster. So pretty close to the capital city. It looks like we also have received a 51 miles per hour wind report near LSU Ben-Hur site. And we're also getting several viewer messages right now, which we definitely appreciate. We're getting some pictures and video. Keep those coming. We love to see those. We hate to see the damage, of course, but the ground truth is very important to us as the event is unfolding. We just had one report from Melody that she got 3 1/4 inches of rain in Maringouin and no damage in her spot. So great news. And for her location, no damage in her spot, but a lot of rain. You were just mentioning that a lot of rain is to follow behind the leading edge of these thunderstorms, which could produce some standing water concerns as well behind all of the severe weather.
Yeah, we'll see if some additional flood warnings are issued. We were seeing some standing water on some of those tower cameras. If you guys want to come back my way now, what I want to do is, because we've seen this go through half to almost 2/3 of our viewing area over the last 1 hour, I want to take this forward toward I-55 and give you a track again on this forward motion about 60 miles per hour east through Livingston, southern Tangipahoa Parish, parts of St. James Parish, and show you that we're dealing with this in the Hammond area maybe until about 7:45, 7:50. This whole Boeing damaging wind line segment, swell line, should be out of here by about 8 o'clock. Southern tip of it may still be in parts of eastern St. James and eastern Assumption Parish, but this is all racing forward at a very quick motion. I think we were pretty clear on our 5 and 6 o'clock newscast tonight that this was a quick hitter. Love that it's not an overnight threat. Hate that we're dealing with severe weather, period. But at least we are getting this over with before most of the area heads off to bed for work and what's left of school tomorrow. Still active severe thunderstorm warnings in our area as far as I'm aware. And Malcolm, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that both of these have a destructive tag on them. So there is capability of wind gusts over 70 or 80 miles per hour at these. And we'll go with a broad view on that, especially, I think we just had a light flash in the studio here. Maybe some.
In fact, Josh, I have a velocity sampled just to the north of Port Vincent on Max 4 if you want to switch over to that. But
there
yeah, we're seeing wind velocities. That's just one of them, 85 miles per hour. And that's not too far from the Hammond radar site either.
Right. We've seen that radar moved recently from Slidell to Hammond, and that gives us a much lower sampling of the radar closer to the ground. The closer the radar sampling to the ground, the more likely it is that these winds are going to make it down to the ground. And Malcolm had said that at LSU's STEM site on Tiger Stadium or near Ben-Hur Road, we had a report of an 80-mile-per-hour wind gust, and that's just above the surface, so I'm not surprised that radar is seeing the potential for an 85-mile-per-hour wind gust. It says minus 85 because that's wind moving toward the radar site in the opposite direction. It would be the positive signal. But this is outside of Port Vincent, just south of Walker and Denham Springs, along and south of I-12. So if you're in southwestern Livingston Parish at the moment, this is where some of the most damaging wind gusts could be occurring at this time. Just starting to pull away from the St. George area, Airline Highway, and Prairieville. Malcolm's just pulling up several samplings of what we're seeing in terms of some potential wind velocity just above the ground right now. And yeah, a lot of them are in that 70 to 80 mile per hour wind zone. So continue to keep mind of that. And he talked about wind-driven hail earlier as well. I wanted to go back and check that product. I saw the hail core. Yeah, it is broadening and dissipating as compared to earlier, so it's a little bit weaker. So
Josh,
that's good news.
Did you see how fast with the last radar scan to this one, how fast those winds moved east?
Yeah, it just kind of verifies too.
Yeah.
Malcolm, I said by 8 o'clock, this is likely east of Hammond. So I mean, this is just racing out of here in a hurry. Range Road in Denham, let's take it. We've got an outside shot of that now, and here it is. We are just watching this storm march down the interstate. Not often that we have all of the cameras in place to cover this, but this is the DOTD cameras watching the heart of this, the core of this storm system move right down the interstate corridor. So again, way more cars on the road than we'd like to see out in Livingston Parish right now. Hopefully not caught too unawares of the storm rolling through our area. But it is obviously storming there. And now we are starting to expect to see more and more darkness as the sun sets in about 15 minutes. And it's not long after that all of this action will be out of our viewing area, another, say, 20 to 30 minutes. But we are seeing clearly that echo, that Boeing segment of the storms now across south central Livingston Parish, approaching, let's say, east of Port Vincent and approaching the town of Livingston. We'll be getting closer to Springfield and Killian in about 5 minutes. So why don't I go ahead and track that for you?
And I think it's the National Weather Service did say that they do not plan on issuing a downstream tornado warning. And looking at the current area of rotation, it does appear that is moving outside of that warning polygon.
Yeah, and that will then be allowed to expire. It says 7:45. We're at 7:33. They may cancel that early since the circulation or former circulation was east of that.
It looks like that threat is wrapping up, at least from a tornado standpoint, in Livingston Parish, but certainly not the wind threat.
And that's why I wanted to throw this on the screen for you now and give you an idea. In Killian, radar, I think, has been estimating with pretty good timeliness the ETA on these storms this evening. It's fast. It seems like your radar says 7:33. You're telling me that'll be here in 10 minutes. Yes, in Killian, I am saying that. In Springfield, 7:45, and then Rosaryville around 7:47. And I'll tell you what, let's just go ahead and do that all along the line at the moment. From Port Vincent down to French Settlement, let's drive this a little closer toward Lake Maurepas. We're going to go into more sparsely populated southern Livingston Parish at the moment, but into Maurepas around 7:40, and then we'll go to the very southern edge of this line and look in Ascension Parish along I-10, east of Donaldsonville. There's Sorrento, there's Convent on the map, and let's go ahead and just kind of draw a broad area out eastward from here as we get closer to that I-10 US 61 corridor. And a couple of locations that'll be in the path of that. Vacherie around 7:45, Garyville around 7:47. There's Letcher around 7:43. So this continues to rip east through St. James Parish at the moment as well. As a reminder, this has been ongoing for about 1 hour, trailing these heavy thunderstorms. We have seen some flooding issues materialize along the I-49 corridor south of Alexandria into Opelousas and Lafayette, and then along Highway 90 just between Lafayette and Lake Charles and north along I-10. Tons of lightning with those storms this evening, and now you can see in that severe thunderstorm warmed area in central Livingston Parish, that red box, that's gone. The polygon for a tornado warning has been allowed to expire, but still a destructive severe thunderstorm cutting across Livingston Parish at the moment. Make sure you remain sheltered up in those sections in a central room away from windows if possible. We're going to take a look back outside now as our cameras all along the highway corridor detecting these severe storms. And yeah, nasty night there in Livingston Parish along I-12. And few cars out on the road still. Good news is we can see the roadway, so the rain rates may have tapered there just a little bit, but still a ton of lightning. You're seeing those constant flashes and trucks on the road. Doesn't look like the handling is too poor, at least in terms of a wind perspective.
Hey, Josh.
Malcolm?
I just looked out the window and saw a big gust of wind here in Baton Rouge. I'm going to switch for just a moment over to Weather 4, because the leading edge of the storms has already passed New Roads. If we could take weather graphics full, notice that 39-mile-per-hour wind gusts in New Roads, sustained winds at 32. I think we might have a wake low forming here. So even after the leading edge of the storms passes through, we could still see some strong winds, maybe not upwards of 60, 70, 80 miles per hour, but in the ballpark of 30 to 40 miles per hour. And of course, if you are having to clean up damage, that could be problems. And we're also getting several more damage reports, too, from Livingston Parish. This is from the fire department in Walker, getting reports of several trees down in Walker near Carolyn, Walker just south of town, and a full blockage south of Arbor Walk on Walker. It says Walker S. Maybe that's Walker South. I'm not sure. But several trees down in the city of Walker as this line of storms continue to come through. Josh, do you have wind gusts on your?
I did, yeah. And so far, now that our map wasn't matching up there with Baton Rouge, but actually I'm going to go to that observation because that was only 30 minutes ago, and our last map observation may have been just before the top of the 7 o'clock hour. So Metro Airport saying we had a gust of 47 miles per hour right around 7:16. That would probably line up perfectly with when that squall line came through the area. Malcolm pointed out New Roads 39, Hammond 36, and the storms haven't gotten there yet. That 36 was from 8:55 this morning. So we will likely top that 39 mile per hour gust in Hammond and the I-55 corridor as these storms continue off to the east. And just look how fast they've surged. This is a 3-hour radar loop. Talking about it going from Lake Charles to Baton Rouge in that short of a time. That's moving at highway speeds. That's about the time it would take us to get out there. I believe we're going to take another camera now. No, I'm back on camera. That's what they were telling me. So we are continuing our coverage here on WBRZ Channel 2. Once again, we have severe thunderstorm warnings active for eastern East Baton Rouge, western Livingston, Ascension Parish, Assumption and St. James Parish. Those are live for the next few minutes here. This storm threat will continue through about the 8 o'clock hour before moving east of I-55. I believe we'll be staying with you to get you through that threat in the Hammond area as well before we go back to regular programming. But what a night this has unfolded to be. If you were with us throughout the last 24 hours or so, we were broadcasting this increasing threat for severe weather. It certainly has materialized, and we're getting some more outdoor vantage points now, I believe, that they're telling me about in the back. So you guys can pull those up whenever, and that is the Sunshine Bridge. As we look further south towards, say, Gonzales, Donaldsonville, and then into St. James Parish, dark skies and gusty winds approaching those areas now. Not quite as much lightning with that part of the line as we're seeing closer to Baton Rouge, Livingston, Hammond, and even Greensburg at the moment. But nasty weather all across the area tonight. Malcolm's in there combing through NWS chat, looking for any updates from them. He's also likely checking our social media and emails to see if we're finding any damage reports coming in at this time. And once again, I'll remind you, if you can safely get them to us, that's weather@WBRZ.com, or you can send them in via the Storm Station weather app. But I only want you to do that if you can get that image or report to us safely. I don't want you to risk going outside in the severe weather to do that. All right, so once again, we go back to what we call our velocity product, and we are looking for those really bright shades of green. And we have the legend on the screen that you can follow along with here. When you see us moving towards the tippy top of that scale, we're maxing things out, and that's about as high a winds as our radar is detecting at the moment in that area just south of I-12 in Livingston Parish. And we put an estimate on their speeds earlier. I'll try and do that right now, and that's highlighting the severe thunderstorm. But we likely have a wind gust close to 60 to 70 miles per hour in those areas now. So this will be moving toward Springfield and Killian within just a matter of moments. I'll go ahead and put a track on that for you as well. Again, we've seen the speed on these at approximately 60 miles per hour. We'll take that comma shape and send it forward. And Killian around 743, and then Strader around 754. And I think if I change my camera angle, I'm going to be able to give you an even more accurate track of this. Let's try that one more time. South of I-12, east toward I-55. And there you go, Pumpkin Center around 745 and Ponchatoula around 750. And that's about the eastern reaches of if you're watching us here in the storm station. So I-55 would be the next highway. And interesting caveat to that. Now, of course, these likely west-moving winds are traveling with or directly against traffic on I-10 and I-12. I-55, we're going to be talking about a crosswind if this is a due west strong wind gust. So that north-south highway of I-55 would be even more danger from the gusty winds, and it wouldn't take as much wind to create an issue with that crosswind along I-55. So once again, if you know anybody that's going to be traveling in that corridor tonight, maybe they take the causeway home from New Orleans to the North Shore, or take I-55 north across in between the two lakes tonight. Make sure they're across that safely with the next 10 or 15 minutes, or maybe avoid that drive in the short term. I see Malcolm joining me back out on set here. I'm sure he's got something.
Yeah, I've got a couple of storm reports to share with you. Actually, this is a brand new one. 2 miles north-northeast of Prairieville, wind damage at 7:18. In fact, I'm going to step off camera. That just popped on the screen. These storm reports automatically pop on. I want to see the details on that. Of course, that happening about 20 minutes ago. The report is a tree down on a house on John Broussard Road in Prairieville. So maybe news. That might be something to check in on. Tree down on a house in Prairieville. That's the storm report we're getting from the National Weather Service. Certainly not good news there. The winds are strong enough to produce that kind of damage. 1 mile northwest of Irwinville, we have a 63-mile-per-hour wind gust at 7:05, 7:10, a 60-mile-per-hour wind gust. These are severe winds, even some hail in southeastern East Baton Rouge Parish. That's quarter size, and we were talking about the potential in the southern parts of the parish to see wind-driven hail a little earlier. And these reports are only starting to come in. Good news, Baton Rouge has been taken out of the severe thunderstorm warning that has been allowed to expire, but severe thunderstorm warning still remains in place for Livingston. I don't see the polygon extending into Tangipahoa Parish yet. I think that is probably going to change. This is the strongest line segment, has the potential for 80-mile-per-hour winds, and we're going to be able to sample this very well with the radar out in Hammond because the closer you get to the radar, the lower to the ground it scans. So, and this is moving right towards the radar. So we're going to get a good sampling of this, I'd say, within the next 5 to 10 minutes. Farther south, we have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for portions of Assumption, St. James, and even mainly Assumption and St. James Parish. Potential here for 60-mile-per-hour winds, a little bit weaker, but still strong enough to prompt a severe thunderstorm warning. By far, though, this is the strongest segment where you see these bright bursts of green. That's where you have the potential for hurricane-force winds, over 75 miles per hour, maybe borderline 80 miles per hour. Right now, this looks like it's mainly over rural parts of Livingston Parish, but this is surging off to the east-northeast at a very fast rate. And soon we may see high winds overtaking I-12 once again. And Josh made a good point just a few moments ago. This is going to be facing cars or going against them or going with the direction of motion, depending on which way you're traveling on I-12. But on I-55, that'll be a crosswind. And the Weather Service did mention that high-profile vehicles are going to need to exercise caution as this blast of winds moves through, Josh.
Yeah, and I'm actually pulling up some of our cameras from that area now. I'm looking at I-12 west of I-55. Looks like that camera's kind of in grayscale or black and white at the moment. So I'll show you what I can see right now. This is, again, I-12 west of I-55. Also, we're going to take a look at I-12 at I-55, and we'll keep an eye on both of these shots over the next few minutes. As Malcolm pointed out, we have the severe thunderstorm warning with the potential of 60-plus mile-per-hour winds. I think we can safely say now, there's that new severe thunderstorm warning, by the way. I'm going to go ahead and give you an immediate update on what that is there.
And that has the potential for 70-mile-per-hour winds, so they're actually noticing a weakening trend.
And they could have hail up to 1 inch, max wind gust 70, and this now would include Hammond, Independence, Ponchatoula, all included in this. Let's go ahead and put a track on it. While I'm getting that track tool ready, it would be worth repeating what Malcolm said just a moment ago. News, if you can hear us at the moment, where some of those damage reports were coming in. Be a great idea if we could get some crews into those areas and at least call around to emergency officials in those areas and see if we can get some more official reports. I'm told we do have some crews on the way to Ascension Parish. Of course, we'll bring you any video and pictures from that area as soon as we get that information into us. So there is a track once again on this storm that is cutting across eastern Livingston Parish and toward I-55 right now. Let's do that one more time. I want to show you just a couple of points. Let's get it into Hammond by about 7:50, so 5 minutes from now. That's how fast these storms are moving tonight. You don't have much time to shelter up. It's on top of Killian, so let's go south from there across I-55, southern parts of Ponchatoula around 7:55. So we're talking about this reaching Interstate 55 in the next 5 to 10 minutes, as I've been saying for about 45 minutes now. We're talking about this threat starting to wind down for the majority of our viewership closer to the 8 o'clock hour. We'll get you back there in the southern part of our viewing area as well. Did want to update that severe thunderstorm warning that is actually going to be soon exiting the eastern reaches of our viewing area as well. This is central St. James Parish at the moment, and the wind gusts there have not been quite as intense. Malcolm pointed this out just a moment ago, as they have been on that northern part of the line segment. And actually, that velocity scan is much, much weaker. Might actually be a little surprising to see that's extended eastward from there, given what we're sampling in that area. But this is the heart of the severe thunderstorm warning that we are concerned with right now. Knocking on your door in Albany, Springfield, and also Killian. Now would be the time to get into your safe shelter. Once again, that reminder that we've seen damage, trees on homes, trees down, and wind gust reports over 60 miles per hour associated with this specific segment of storms that's been racing to the east at about 60 miles per hour or so this evening. So there you are, Albany. There you are, Springfield. There you are, Killian. Ponchatoula, only 10 minutes from now. Hammond, 10, 15 minutes from now. And we've been talking about that radar site that's close to us. That's where it is in Hammond at this moment. So we're getting a really accurate scan of what's happening in eastern Livingston Parish now and along the I-55 corridor. So we're talking about these 60-mile-per-hour winds potentially translating over I-55 in the next 15 minutes or so. So any north-south moving traffic is going to have a very intense crosswind to deal with as these storms move through that area.
Hey, Josh,
yeah, go Malcolm.
I'm going to pop up a graphic behind you on my system. Look at that wind report in East Baton Rouge Parish, Baton Rouge Metro Airport.
We saw 47 10 minutes ago, and now we got an update to 62 miles per hour. Malcolm, I'm going to pull up the time on that because this very well,
that's
like
7:35.
you pointed out, wake low. So this could be happening now behind. Yeah, that graphic's not updated yet. This could be happening behind the leading edge of the storms, which is a whole different can of worms people should be aware of. That even once that leading edge gets past you, you might not be in the clear yet if we do see that wake low situation developing.
And that stuff's really hard to detect on radar, too. Of course, we can sometimes see that in the wind velocities. There are some nuances to that, but it's not like there's a leading line of thunderstorms that you can track with that. It's just behind this system, you've got an area of low pressure that's developing, and that's helping the winds accelerate down towards the ground and producing those really high winds. In fact, 62 miles per hour, if that was associated with a thunderstorm, that would prompt a severe thunderstorm warning.
Yeah, and it goes to show why that warning isn't expiring as soon as the leading edge of the line gets past you. They leave that in place for multiple minutes afterwards, and maybe with good reason in the Baton Rouge area. Come back on screen here and pointing out to you what's still happening in the area. Again, we are probably winding down our live weather coverage at the moment, but we will have much more, of course, tonight on News 2 at 10 o'clock. This is the broad summary of what's happening at the moment. Severe thunderstorms with potentially destructive winds continuing to roll across I-12 in Livingston Parish, crossing closer to I-55 in Tangipahoa Parish, and then parts of northern Assumption and St. James Parish, as well as southern Ascension Parish at the moment, all in a severe thunderstorm warning. A history now tonight of these storms producing damaging wind gusts in excess of 60 miles per hour, a history of wind damage to trees and even some structures now, and we've even had some large hail in the mix. I did check recently, and it looks like that hail threat is diminishing a little bit as these storms cross into southern Tangipahoa Parish. But if you're in this I-55 corridor right now, you really need to be sheltered up. A good idea, too, in the I-10 US 61 corridor in St. James Parish. I don't want to give the all clear yet, just west of the Mississippi River in better shape, but from Baton Rouge and points to the east, based on that wind gust we saw at 7:36 15 minutes ago, we still have some winds gusting pretty heavily on the backside of these storms. So it's a good example. Denham Springs, you can see that most of the lightning, most of the strong gusty winds on the leading edge to your east. Might be thinking it's time to go outside and take a look. We may still indeed have some really strong wind gusts just on the tail edge of this as well. So in that 10-12 split area, may continue to find that. If you're watching us right now and again can get us safely a report or a picture or video of anything that's happened tonight, you can email weather@wbrz.com. Use that QR code right there and send us any reports. But again, your safety is the #1 priority. Please do not jeopardize yourself to get us that picture. Wait until the storms have safely gone by your area. I'm going to go ahead and pull back up the wind speeds, our velocity image on that severe thunderstorm warning. And to be honest, I don't think this is as bright a green as we were seeing a little while ago. Not to say it's not severe, but maybe a little less severe. And as this storm continues to race eastward, what we might find happening is it kind of outruns the best support for itself, and we might find it start to race away from those best ingredients, and that, in fact, may cause it to slowly weaken with time. But sure, it maximizes intensity right across our viewing area this evening. So, again, we're seeing those really nasty winds approaching now Springfield and southern parts of Albany, right on top of Killian at the moment.
Hey,
Malcolm,
Josh,
yeah, go ahead, Malcolm.
A new update from the National Weather Service. At this moment, they are working on drafting up a high wind warning. And I imagine that would be for a wake low. They mentioned the fact that both Tiger Stadium and Metro Airport recently gusted over 60 miles per hour. If you were with us a few moments ago, you saw that 62 mile per hour wind gust at Metro Airport. I don't believe that is going to pop up in our system yet because they are drafting that up. But that just goes to show that we could just have some strong pressure gradient winds behind the leading edge of these storms, and they could be in the ballpark of 60 to 65 miles per hour, not likely in the ballpark of 75 to 80 like these severe thunderstorms have had a history of doing, but still some strong winds nevertheless. And you think we're still seeing rain behind this. We have saturated grounds. It doesn't take much wind to start toppling trees over, and it looks like that wind gust is updating in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, checking that wind gust there. Malcolm, I'll tell you what, since my system's live, you could probably jump in the system and get that high wind warning graphic prepared in case we want to issue it on the air here once we get word from the National Weather Service. And I was going to go ahead and check our power outage list. I am in contact with our producer and director. I do want to, wow, look at that. Big changes. And as I am in contact with our producer and director, that is a huge update from the last time we shared this graphic. 18,000 outages now in East Baton Rouge Parish. That's 9% of the parish out. That tells me that we were seeing some significant wind gusts roll through the area. Kind of corresponds with those dams reports. 32% of West Baton Rouge Parish now out. 4,200 customers there. 31% of Iberville Parish is out with 2,800 customers. And about half of Point Capee Parish. That's about the same number we saw earlier, 2,800 customers without power in those areas. So once again, these severe thunderstorms have left their mark on the capital area tonight, and they are now heading your way in Tangipahoa Parish. One more huge population center. We talked about Baton Rouge, Denham, Gonzales, all have experienced this, and any winds lagging behind the leading edge. But Hammond, you're on deck next, and unfortunately, maybe some of those power outage causing winds could be heading your way here in a matter of moments.
Josh, I'll tell you, too, high wind warnings are very uncommon for southern Louisiana. Typically, you see these issued for several hours. Not very common to see this in a short fuse severe thunderstorm situation.
No, not at all. We even, with our last event, which produced damaging wind gusts and tornadoes, on the tail end, we saw a weaker wake low develop, and we were talking about 20, 30, maybe a 40-mile-per-hour wind gust, but a 60-mile-per-hour wind gust with a wake low is fairly impressive on the Gulf Coast, as Malcolm noted. What I'm going to bring back up, because my producer, Jonathan, did lend some context to our East Baton Rouge power outages. He tells me a lot of those are in the St. George area and the Prairieville area. That is exactly where we saw that tornado-warned circulation go over earlier. And I'll tell you, that is my neighborhood, the St. George area. So I am hoping that everything's okay at home right now. And for all of the folks living in that area, at the very least dealing with power outage tonight, maybe some damage. I don't think, Malcolm, via weather, email, or social media, we've got any reports of damage in those areas with the power outages yet. Have you seen anything in that St. George area?
We've gotten several viewer reports, and to be honest, while we're on the air, it's hard to sift through those. And in fact, if the newsroom is getting any photos, if they would like to compile those and maybe get those out on the air, we would love to take those shots. I do want to note, too, Josh, we just had a severe thunderstorm warning canceled, and that is for that southern line segment out towards Assumption and St. James Parish. So it looks like things are weakening to the point where we can allow that warning to expire.
Yeah, so that being said, Malcolm, as we're taking a live look out now at I-12 at range, what we will do is we're going to kind of put an end game here. We're going to watch these gusty winds cross I-55, Hammond and Ponchatoula, because that's that northern severe thunderstorm warning. As that occurs, we'll be at least safe from a warning perspective to return to some regular programming as we start to gather and look at all the dams reports into the evening hours. But we'll go another 5-6 minutes or so at least, maybe toward the top of the hour as we wait for that to unfold. This is I-55, and we are taking a look at it. I think that's a split screen I'm seeing. So we got the interchange at I-12 and likely both ways. Yeah, and this is where that crosswind is going to happen. And let me look on radar. This is going to be really close to hitting that area right now. So we may see, let's leave that shot up. We are very likely going to see some intense winds crossing that area, in a matter of moments. We're talking about that interchange. There are the gusty winds, that green. Here's that interchange. So maybe 2-3 minutes, we are going to see storms intensify there pretty quickly. And I think we're watching that happen right now. More lightning and rain is going to drop visibility in those sections, and those high winds are going to cross that interstate system at the moment. Again, 2-3 minutes from now, I think we're going to see that happening, Malcolm. This is going to be an interesting shot on camera.
And Josh, in a second, I'm going to have this high wind warning graphic ready for you. It looks like it is going to expire at 11 o'clock, and it is not everybody that is within that. So for just a quick moment, I am going to pop that on the screen. So if we could take weather graphics full for just a moment, it includes the following parishes: Point Capee, West Feliciana, East Feliciana, St. Helena, Livingston, East and West Baton Rouge Parish, Iberville Parish, and Ascension Parish. So pretty much the entire metro area, Baton Rouge and surrounding areas. And the criteria for a high wind warning is 40 mile per hour or higher winds. And these are driven not by necessarily thunderstorms. They were caused by the thunderstorms, but the pressure gradient rather was caused by a thunderstorm, but it's pressure differences that is driving the wind, and the potential is there to see those gusts or even sustained winds for a period of 1 hour or more. Of course, in Baton Rouge, we saw a wind report up to 62 miles per hour. Excuse me, Jonathan, what was that? Okay, we're going to take another camera shot here at I-55 there.
Woo, that's changed
Goodness
since the last
gracious.
time we saw it. Yeah, that's where those strong gusty winds are crossing I-55 right now. So again, those 18-wheelers particularly concerned. Look at there in the headlights. You can see the sheets of rain blowing sideways as these vehicles are crossing the interstate there. And at full speeds, it appears. So really dangerous drive in parts of southern Tangipahoa Parish right now, just outside of Hammond. This is the I-55 interchange or merge with I-12 at the moment. You were looking at both the north and the southbound lanes, and that is where Malcolm and I have been tracking some very intense winds, the same winds that have produced wind damage and have had a history of causing power outages just to our western neighbors here in parts of Livingston, East Baton Rouge, and Ascension Parish. So active night continues for the eastern reaches of our viewing area, and that area is under a severe thunderstorm warning. You can see that on radar at the moment as we continue to scan. That northern orange box, that's the area we're most concerned with at the moment. That is the particular area that did produce formerly some damage in southeastern East Baton Rouge, northern Ascension, and southwestern Livingston Parish, and all those numerous power outages that we've been keeping an eye on. Starting to hug the lakes now. We're going to get warnings for those, special marine warnings. Obviously, we don't want to be out on the waterways this evening, and the roadway is still a dangerous drive along I-12 in eastern Livingston, I-55 in Tangipahoa, southward between the lakes. The causeway is going to be a really dangerous drive between the North Shore and New Orleans in a matter of about 20 minutes here. That will then move east of our viewing area at that point. We're seeing rain still in East Baton Rouge Parish. We're seeing rain in Gonzales and Donaldsonville. It's lightened up, but the winds are not done. Malcolm commented on that a moment ago, but we have that high wind warning in place now for another couple of hours. So you may notice as we take some of these high angle shots that the camera is a little bit more wobbly than usual. And this may well just be for the immediate trailing edge of some of those thunderstorms. Here's a wider look. We'll come back to the shot outside of I-55 and I-12, the interchange there. Visibility continues to reduce. Sheets of rain still blowing across the highway and still a north-south flow of traffic at the moment. But we're going to see more drops of water on the lens of those towers, too. Hydroplane is going to be a concern. That makes it harder to control your vehicle. So, too, will the wind and the constant barrage of lightning, not helping that situation either. Let's take that radar view I have behind me at the moment, and we're going to find that little less lightning showing up on the southern edge of this storm into parts of Assumption and St. Mary Parish. But just offshore, where there's still a really ripe environment with instability and moisture, strong storms going to track along the coast. Now, this is going to be south of Highway 90, but follow this area into parts of Houma tonight, eventually Grand Isle, south side of New Orleans. Severe thunderstorm warning, as Malcolm pointed out, has been canceled in Assumption and most of St. James, but we continue to watch that activity in Livingston and also Tangipahoa. And once that crosses through Hammond and I-55, we will sign off here. Just maybe another 5 minutes or so before we send you back to coverage, but want to make sure our folks in Hammond are still safe tonight. As a reminder, because it's been a while since we brought this up, and for the Hammond viewing area, now is the time you want to take yourself to a low-level interior room away from windows. Put as many walls between yourself and the outside as possible, as these particular storms have been really rough on the capital area tonight, not only producing power outages, but also some damage. I'm going to pull up those damage reports now. Walker, wind damage, 2 places, right around South Walker, and then Prairieville, that wind damage around 718, Malcolm.
Yeah, here's some context on actually one of those Walker reports. A report from the fire department of a tree on a house and or trailer on Bonnie Drive in southern Livingston Parish. No injuries are reported. which is what we like to see. Another thing I want to mention, and this has to do with those storms ongoing now along I-55, they are monitoring a water spout approaching acres along Highway 55, watching that closely, and that's, of course, near Lake Maurepas. So they are monitoring a water spout. I believe with what the verbiage that I'm seeing in the chat, perhaps it's confirmed, or maybe they're seeing it, but soon that may move on to land.
Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me. And what I'm doing is working our system right now to pull up that shot.
Oh, you can see it in the velocity data.
I do believe we have a camera in that area. So let me see if I can pull that up in the, it's going to be in our Jubin folder, Ascension, Livingston. Here we go.
And this is so close to the radar, we're actually getting a very good sampling of the low-level winds. And when we see an area of rotation like this, that close to the radar, there's a good chance that it's either a tornado or, in this case, a waterspout, because we're seeing this rotation over Lake Maurepas. And as the storms push to the east, so is this area of rotation.